Good afternoon. Welcome to Talking Horses. We kick off another week of action. Anthony Stabile, Andy Serling, and a big weekend coming up. Obviously, the races from Dubai, which we'll be covering on FS2 tomorrow, I believe, 8 till
12:55.
Yeah, there will not be a show during the afternoon, so no coverage of our races from Aqueduct or Oaklawn tomorrow. 4-hour show on Sunday, 3 to 7, which will include action from Tampa, as well as heading out late in the day to Sunland Park, their usual Aqueduct and Oaklawn as well. We'll be covering the Sunland Oaks and the Sunland Derby as well. Another stake in between there. A lot to talk about. Nice 8-race card today. Tomorrow's card is some of those claiming championship races as well. You need to head over to NYRA Bets. If you're not a member of NYRA Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code BONUS200 and we will match for $200 of your initial deposit. We have a 20% exacta bonus we do every Friday here at Aqueduct. Got to opt in over at NYRA Bets. We have that same exacta bonus on the Dubai World Cup tomorrow as well. Also need to opt in separately for that. Dubai World Cup post time around 12:45, probably 12, somewhere in there.
Listed at 12:35 in the PPs, but it usually goes a few minutes later.
All right. That's tomorrow. His Country Grammar is the big American name in there, facing off against a number of the Japanese horses that he faced over in Saudi as well, as he looks to win 2 straight. Saturday contest, $300 buy-in, cash and seat prizes you have until 5 o'clock today. Head over to NYRA.com/contest. You play that contest through NYRA Bets. And last but not least, 3 to 6 today, covering action from here and Oaklawn Park as well.
Frankie Dettori in his final Dubai World Cup, looking to break a tie with Jerry Bailey. They each have 4.
All right, there you go.
Country Grammar looking to be only the second horse to win 2. Thunder Snow went back-to-back. 18 and 19, I believe. So there you go.
All right. He ran well over in Saudi.
Your Dubai World Cup history.
Race number 1. Race number 1, we'll take a look at the video of the horse that you have on top. Think About It, and you can talk about this runner.
Welcome back, Joel Rosario for the day. He's here to ride Maple Leaf Mel in the Eastview later on. Yeah, first time off the claim for Charlie Baker. Finished second behind Prisoner. Prisoner went wire to wire 2 in a row before that streak was snapped last out. And this horse just was a function of a very fast pace and Prisoner getting loose on a quick lead. And I think this horse made up some ground, going to have to run off the rise. This was the lowest this horse had run in a very long time last time out. I think Charlie made a decent enough claim. I think there's some room for improvement in here. I think he's catching a field of horses on the other side of the mountain for the most part. So it's a little swing with him. David has him short on the line. He's 2 to 1, as he should be, because like I said, I think he's catching these horses at the right time.
He was wide last time. The rail was gold. Prisoner was able to take advantage of that gold rail. Obviously, he didn't come back and run well the other day. It was kind of a quick pace, even though the speed ended up winning the race at a big price. But he was dressed up off the rail performance, and Think About It was against it. I think the potential problem for Think About It in here is the general lack of speed, and the speed is Secret Rules. Now, he is a very, very hard horse to trust. Probably not the best of trips in some of his recent races, and maybe he'll benefit from getting Torres for here, and you think he's got to go from the inside. And I think one of the interesting things about Secret Rules is he's not a dump job by Robbie Falcone. I mean, Robbie could easily think, I don't want any part of this horse, and he could look to run this horse much, much cheaper.
Sure.
And so the fact that he's running in this 40, I think, is a positive, and while I don't love his chances, he is the controlling speed in a relatively paceless race. But I thought American Gentleman could also be close, and American Gentleman gets a nice rider switch getting Dylan Davis for this race. But more importantly, he's been in just ridiculous spots. He had no chance against the likes of Big Engine, King Angelo, and Sheriff Bianco last time. That Steinbach Nova Rags race was a much, much tougher field, 2 races back. He also was wide last time against a good rail in his last start. Milton the Monster in the slop. You look back, now obviously it was a long time ago, but back in November he ran an 88 buyer. Not sure how randomly it came up because his other races before and after it don't back it up, though he's run fast before. But you know what? He can be forwardly placed. He's in a more appropriate spot today. And while I don't disagree about Think About It, and the other problem in this race is, you know, we mentioned Secret Rules. He's a question mark. You don't have him anywhere. I do think he's more dangerous than you. The Rob Atris's horses, you know, Gagetown. Gagetown's claimed from Lynn Cash. Per the stats for Lynn Cash, claimed off Lynn Cash in the dirt. Now, he's only been training for 2 years. The numbers are not good. We saw the other day, Tom Morley claimed that horse, the ex-Klarovich horse. That horse could not have been worse the other day, and Flying P has a pretty good record off the claim, and it just seems like this is not an easy guy to claim from. As far as 24 Mamba, why do we want this horse in the dirt? And this horse's dirt races are absolutely atrocious. Ran 38 and 27 Beyers and immediately improved 40 points on synthetic 24 Mamba. So listen, it won't be the first time that Rob Atras has shipped a horse that has synthetic form and won here, but the ones that won were against just pitiful fields, and they kind of laid over the fields in their synthetic form, so all they do was handle the dirt. This horse isn't even good enough in his synthetic form in all likelihood to win this race, so he's got to improve, and based on his 2 dirt races, there's a real question whether he can handle the surface.
Yeah, those were strictly Rob selections. I don't like the rest of them.
I'm just pointing the thing out with the 2 Rob Atras horses. Obviously, Rob is a dangerous trainer, but I think both of these horses come with some question marks, though Gagetown does obviously have the credentials to win this race. Race number 2 is a very, very funny race. And because you've got these 2 Todd Pletcher horses, and these horses could easily run 1-2 here. They very well may, but neither one of them are overly compelling. As far as long term, we'll take a look at his race when second to Electability, who didn't really pan out, but obviously had some talent. He is a bit of a hanger. I'm going to show you a funny Todd Pletcher stat after it. I just think it's kind of weird. They run him on the turf at his return race, and then it's like they don't want to risk the possibility of running him on the dirt in a maiden special weight and running so badly that nobody will claim him. Now, he is in for 40, and I'm not certain he's going to get claimed here, but it feels like the last thing they want to do is run him in a maiden special and have him run so badly that nobody will be interested in him. I don't know. These horses, they just seem so much better, these horses. How about this one? Maiden special weight to maiden claimer, turf to dirt at Naira. He's 8 for 12. He's 4 for 6 in scheduled dirt races. 4 of them were off the turf, but he's 4 for 6, and the ROI is pretty much the same. It's just such a funny stat, I couldn't resist it. But I don't know, Anthony. You don't pick the horse on top. He is very, very hard to trust.
Isn't it hard to pick either of these horses? I mean, I'm trying to think of...
I'm not sure it's not hard to pick against them,
I'm trying
but
to
maybe.
think of a race where a trainer has 2 horses. Forget about the fact that they're both maidens in a maiden claiming race, that are going to be both under 2-1.
I'm curious.
They could both be on...
I'm not sure.
No?
It feels like one of them is going to get bet. They usually don't. I know what you're saying.
They're kind of the same horse.
Well, I'll tell you something. I actually think
Save the turf race. They're kind of the same horse, no?
Pioneering Spirit's a better horse if he can run his good races.
Oh, you see, and I think the other horse is a better horse because if you pick the other horse apart, he's got all the second place finishes. Take out the Wood Memorial. I mean, he ran against Electability. He ran against Costa.
Lost it 2-5. He lost it 4-5. I guess the reason I say he's better, and that's fair. I don't think you're wrong, but it's a discussion point. It's not clear cut. Mm-hmm. The horse that beat him in here, War Campaign, he ran a 79 Beyer, followed by an 84 Beyer, 89 Beyer, 97 Beyer, another Beyer. Yeah. I mean, that horse is like a legitimate. Now,
Creative Minister was third in the Preakness.
Right,
no, right.
I mean, this horse, and now he's coming back, and he's just dropping off the cliff. Been gelded. They're dropping him. Listen, I'm not against them. But in all good conscience, I couldn't pick either one of them. And I have a thing for Cloud Music, and I don't think I'm wrong. He's going to be in front today. I don't know why he wasn't in front last time out. He should have been in front. He's got a lot of speed. I don't trust him. I'm not sure he can get the mile in here, but he's going to be in front. I've got a bit of a thing for him, so I'm going to give him one shot at a price. You've taken a horse that you are somehow a huge fan of. I'm not exactly sure why.
He finished second on the big fig, the big enough fig 2 back, and I don't know. I'll try Charlie one more time with this horse. It'll be a middling price with these other horses. That was it. Yeah, he's a little bit of a pet. Okay. I don't have a good reason for you.
I'm going to try to beat him with a bit of a fuzzy who I think should be the speed in here. It's kind of an interesting race, and I'm curious to see what Todd's horse is doing. The other thing is, it's one thing to try to beat one of them. To try to beat both of them
yeah,
is
the right one will get you, the left one probably will.
One of them will probably win the race.
Right.
Listen, they may run 1-2.
Old days essentially would have been 2-5, right?
You're trying it. You're trying to beat 2 of them. It's a little bit tricky. Race number 3. Speaking of tricky, there's absolutely no form to go on in race number 3 at all. And I mean, Franny Lou was the closest thing to a horse with form. She had run against better horses, and she actually, at least on a good rail, but at least ran a credible Beyer 2 back. She comes out, and there's just nothing to go on.
I took, this was probably not as bad as the first race on Sunday. But and the first to won that one, and I basically
No,
I
this
took
is a
from a
Morris
low. First time starter who's probably prepping for turf. Dam finished
Eating or running on it.
third. Dam, yeah, that's a good one. Dam ran third in the Chelsea Flower, I believe. Won twice on the grass. Once over in Europe, once here.
Got a big 9,000 for this one at the sale. This is a very strange one. You almost wonder why they haven't bred this horse instead of running it for a quarter, to be honest with you. Listen, I scratched the horse for second out of respect to Rob, who has such good numbers with first-time stars. Not they're great numbers, they're okay numbers, and he seems to have a lot of live firsters. And one thing with Rob is, we see him with live firsters that are 20-1 as much as we see him with live firsters at 3-1. He doesn't really run firsters to get bet off the board. And it feels like he's a trainer that, I think people think of him as a claiming trainer.
He doesn't run a lot of first-time starters.
He's 3 for 14, 3 for 16 first-time starter maiden claimers in the dirt. 318 ROI, 6 hitting the board, which are solid numbers. They're not great, but they're solid.
But that's over 5 years. Think about that.
No, I
That's
get it.
not a lot
But
of
he's got
first-time
some maiden
starters
specials in too.
for a barn that has.
These are maiden claimers.
Right.
He's got some maiden specials
Yeah.
too. I think the fact is, I think you think of a guy like Rob Atras and you think he's a claiming trainer, worked for Diodoro. We think of him in those sort of terms because that's basically kind of where he has. I don't mean that as a criticism in any way. I think he would agree with that as well. But he's a guy, actually, a lot of those guys aren't that good with firsters, guys and gals. He actually is good with first. He actually does get them ready first time out. They often have speed, but man, Carpe Diem from that dam, $9,000. I'm a little suspect. I think the 11 Dream Road is actually a very interesting horse when you take him apart. This horse ran against significantly better horses, trying to go a mile first time out. And you look at that pace. Photon was in the pace. Now, I understand that Photon sort of fell apart, but Photon was a horse that was a heavy favorite that was running mid-70 buyers going into the race. The other speed was Bavarian Cream. She came back with 2 wins in a row, including 80 buyer here just the other day. So this horse at least, you see the loss by 30, and I think that tendency is to say, this horse stinks. Well, I'm not sure. At least the horse did some running in the race. For a half mile, this horse was right on top of the pace, gets Lasix, blinkers off. I don't know. I was just looking for somebody different here because, what are you going to do? You're going to take Bustin' Roxy, who ran okay last time for Michelle Nevin, but not too compelling. Super slide.
I almost went back-to-back Charlie, but if Charlie can go back-to-back with these two, break these two maidens back-to-back,
This horse lost, got buried by Maggie T in that race. I guess she could win. I tried to make a case for Georgie's Ladies, who made a wide move, but the horse didn't do any running in that race. So I'm going to take a shot with the 11, who at least did a little running against significantly better horses. Race number 4 is the long-awaited return of Asymmetric. I know a lot of people have been asking, where is Asymmetric? And I will say,
for the second time in his career.
all kidding aside, I thought he ran pretty well last time because if you look at this race, and we will look at it, it was a race that completely fell apart behind him. And he was pretty close to the pace the whole way. And of the pace horses, who was fourth in this race with a terrible trip? The hottest New York bred in the grounds right now. Maybe the single best New York bred in the grounds right now. Ouster.
Oh, the Johnny.
This was a race that Johnny wasn't Johnny. Johnny just every time Johnny tried to make a move, he got caught behind a horse and he got in trouble. And that's him in finishing fourth. He ran 100 buyer the other day. It looks like a stakes. He and the Rapoli horse
Overstep
that beat him the time before that.
Those are
They're
real
going to be
horses.
some well-needed blood in that division. Those two horses.
The commentator's shaping up to be some race on.
I think Grenig wrote, or somebody wrote, I think it was Grenig, that American Revolution's coming back as well.
For the commentator?
Well, I don't know if he's coming the commentator, but he's coming back, period. So it'd be nice to see him back.
Awesome.
And those horses have to take a step forward, obviously, to be in his class, considering what he's done.
He's still got to come back, though. Those two horses are in raging form right now.
They're in raging form, and that is a division that could use some new blood. And both those horses are, and I know Ouster was second to Overstep, but Overstepped it. Not that Ouster ran badly, but Overstepped did all the running in that race.
Chased and still
he's
won.
looking good.
Yeah.
I put him second. I don't want to put him on top like you. But I do think he's dangerous in here. You've got agility. I don't like agility, but go ahead.
I didn't know what to do with agility. And I would like agility a whole lot more if I knew what happened two back. And he just didn't fire two back.
No, he didn't. But he ran 3 back, and he ran last time. The problem I have, Anthony, is, and I bet him in this race, he got a very good trip, and horses have come out of this race to not run particularly well.
They
And
have
I'm
not
just
run well.
wondering if you really want to rely on this kind of 81 buyer. and he can win. I don't disagree.
I
with
couldn't
you.
go anywhere else, and I just did not want to put us asymmetric. I just couldn't. I couldn't make a case for anybody else.
Well, I can. I think Thrilovit's a little bit interesting in here. I like the turn back for Thrilovit. I'll show you a stat for John Terranova. Which stat did I put up? I had a couple of stats here. I think I put up his layoff numbers of 6 to 12 months. He's 10 for 28. He's also 10 for 42 when he turns back on the dirt. You combine the two, he's just 1 for 5, but 3 at the board. And the winner was a big price. I don't know if he's quite good enough, but I really do like the turn back for this horse.
Do you really? I thought his figs were much better. Save last time. I just thought his figs were much better going longer.
Yeah, I think 7. I mean 6.5 a little bit. I think 6.5, 7 is fine for him. I don't want him going longer. But I'm going to try 42 Ace, and I know I bet him a lot. And he's not a winning type. He is a horse that Timeform US and Affinity for, which is probably why I like him. But if you look at him, he's in a race that collapsed last time. He beat the other speed in there. Awesome Native was in very good form going that race before he ran at the aforementioned overstep in his next start. He chased Sundays with Sandy when Sundays with Sandy run one of those 2 huge races that he's run. 3 races back. He's got a good outside stalking post. He could be speed. It depends what the 2 and 3 do here. I don't know. I thought he'd be a decent enough price, and I don't want to take the one off the layoff, and I think Agility's dressed up. And like you, if you think those 2 horses are vulnerable, I don't think you have to be a killer to win this race.
You don't have to be a killer to win this race.
Even Amadeus Music's not impossible
No question
in here.
about it.
So, thought they were a little interesting. That's the first 4. We'll be back with the late pick 4.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. I want to thank our sponsor at Saratoga Springwater. Andy, race number 5. Lost a big player when the 11 blue paint came out. Of here, you have the number 3, How Lucky on top.
Yeah, I just want a little bit of a fresh face. She comes in third off July layoff for Horacio De Paz, who's won at around 25% here this winter. She has run twice on the circuit. She won here at Aqueduct in the conditioned race. She didn't run that poorly at Belmont Park. She's facing better horses today, as those were conditioned races. I ordinarily don't like betting the horses that have only won condition claiming races, 2 Life, 3 Life, the maiden tag. But again, kind of like earlier in the card, I think she's facing these horses at the right time. I think a lot of these horses are going the other way right now, and a little bit of a fresh face. She's going to be a square enough price. I mean, all these prices are going to come down with blue paint coming out. And even Indian Bella, who was kind of short on the line as well, she was the same price, 6 to 1. So I'll use How Lucky. I'll let Andy talk about Rubies in Time. The other horse, Vegas Weekend, I guess, she'll come down in price as well. But I guess if you had an anointed class in here and it wasn't that long ago, she would have been the one that's faced probably better horses and not that long ago. I think she's one you'd have to use in here as well, especially if she's going to be 6 to 1.
Well, obviously the price is going down. It's a 7 to 2
Yeah.
morning line was scratched. Ruby's in Time. I know she's probably going to be favored in here. She's supposed to go the lead in this race. She is the speed. You know, the only other time she ran at a mile, it actually fell into line. If you look at it, she had run 35 and 36 buyers in her prior 2 races sprinting, and then she ran a 48 buyer. So it's not like she didn't handle the mile, and she's supposed to be controlling speed. She comes out of a much better race where she was wide around the racetrack, and the rail was the place to be. The winner came up the rail to win the race, so she actually does have a legit excuse as she kind of drops off the cliff second time off the claim. And yeah, they're dropping her, and she's a little tough to trust, but she has excuses. She's supposed to just wire this field. And I actually thought an interesting horse to use with her was Keen Dancer. And we'll look at Keen Dancer beat Vegas Weekend, who you mentioned, who I don't think is impossible either in this race. And look at Keen Dancer. Look who she's been running against. Tough Street, Stone Creator, even last time out were better horses. And if you feel like I do, that Rubies and Time's horse to be is the speed, if I'm going to try to beat her, I want to beat her with a horse coming from the clouds and fits the Randy Persaud profile. She's a little dirtied up. She looks like she hasn't done much running. She didn't have much chance here. She may get some pace, and I'll tell you one thing. She runs this race, she can absolutely win here, and she's going to be a price, so I'm going to throw her in. I thought those were the two horses I wanted in here.
Only Randy could have a horse with 3 wins on her card, and every race she has on her card, she's double digits. Forget about the wins. Every race.
Well, look at the races she runs where she doesn't win for the most part. I mean, look at the interspersed with her 2 wins or 4 efforts where she got beaten, a total of around 80 lengths. I mean, it's not even like competitive in those races, but he will run horses in spots that come up, and often they're spots where the horses are just over their heads. And a cheap horse over its head usually underachieves. They're just so far out of it in there. I think it's Cold to Hair is not impossible in here. Off the claim for Cantor Machis. Don't think it's impossible, but didn't really love the race last time out. Vegas weekend, not impossible. I'm going to stick to the 10 and 12. I hear you with the 3. I just wish this horse had run against better horses throughout her career at some point.
I don't disagree with that.
Race number 6 is the one race today that got squashed by scratches.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I know you scratched into Kalaloo, though, I mean, obviously he's a dangerous player. I wanted to show the stretch run of Kalaloo's last time. I don't want to be too hard on Jorge Vargas. He's a good guy. This was a terrible ride. I mean, this horse has enough speed to be forward. He was dead last with this horse. How could you be dead last with this horse? And then he's coming up the fence. He gets stuck in nothing but traffic. You see him coming through. This poor horse deserves better. He tried to get out. He couldn't get out. He wanted to get out again. He couldn't get out. Now he's got nowhere to go. He's got to duck back inside. And all of these problems were because he was so far out of it. Why does he have no speed anymore?
Well, you know,
I mean, I don't think he has no speed anymore. But
it's the weirdest thing, Andy, because he's had 4 sprints, and in 3 of his sprints, he's completely out the back.
Well, he had trouble at the start in those races,
he did,
to be
but
fair.
the one time he broke, he got beat 3/4 of a length to My Man Matty, when it looked like My Man Matty was going to be okay.
His 3 good races, or both races, he was forward.
They were forward.
Why would you? I'm not saying he's going to win, and I'm not saying he has to be on the lead, but how is he not forward? What was going on last time?
I have no answer.
I don't know if something went wrong. I don't know, but it was bizarre.
I have no answer for you. I have no answer.
This horse, I understand the race was coming apart.
He's a major player in this race.
Oh.
He's supposed to be the favorite.
Isn't he the horse to beat?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's the horse to beat.
I kept looking at the race, and I just...
I think without the 8 in the race, I'm not sure.
Without the 8, he's the horse to beat.
I wasn't sure he wasn't the horse to beat.
Anyway,
he's got to be more. He's got to be more forward.
But he's got to be forward.
Right. You can't go out the back door with this horse. He runs well when he's forward, and he's not a bad horse. He's got some real talent. This horse. I know the last race collapsed, so maybe it brought him into the race, but that's really not the point. The point is he's supposed to be forward last time.
Supposed to be forward.
You know, at least a little bit forward, not dead last top of the stretch, right? If somebody said to you he's going to be dead last top of the stretch, you said yes, he's being eased.
Yeah, and you don't want to bet 2 cents on him. So,
colloquy and mandatory kind of a race, and I'm a little bit loath to take mandatory, even though if I was involved, I would have claimed him, not colloquy, out of that race. I thought mandatory ran super in this race. You look at how that paced. The last horse, the other horse who was involved in the pace, I believe finished last, got a 36 buyer, came back with a 61 buyer. Norgay, who was sitting close to there, won his next start, albeit under good circumstances, but he ran 12 buyer points higher. I think this is a better race than it looks, and I thought that mandatory ran extremely well, doing all the running in the race. I'd like to see him be aggressive with mandatory. He does have speed outside of him from another mother, but I just thought mandatory's last race was good, and I'd take him in here. But obviously the scratches have dramatically changed it, particularly the scratch of the 8 gut feeling. Who was the horse to beat, but didn't have to win.
They got to get mandatory into the race. I'm not that that should be a problem, but you kind of feel like mandatory's got to be forward from another mother.
Yeah, he's speed. He's supposed to be. The speed's supposed to be in front. In American dirt racing, speed horses used to go to the lead. There was actually a very interesting race I thought at Oaklawn yesterday, and it made me think of that. Something Todd Pletcher said to me over 25 years ago, where. The simplest of concepts. He said to me that Wayne Lucas made a lot of money sending speed horses to lead. Wayne, but I think I mean, nothing. It's sort of that's
Wayne won a lot of races being a very simple man.
yeah, but the longer we go in the game, the more people get away from it, and the more prescient it becomes.
Overthinking.
And yesterday there was a
It's baseball managers walking around with binders the size of my head.
there was a 5.5 furlong non-winners of 1 race at Oaklawn. Wayne had a horse off a win at a mile on a top of a slow pace at a mile. There were 2 speeds in there they rated, and he gunned and went to the lead, and he won the race. And it made me think of that, and I thought, that's Wayne, right? That's Wayne in a nutshell. Keeping the game simple.
Well, he's had a good meet. He's won about, 15%?
Yeah,
down there.
I think he's done
And
some
part of the
15th
reason
win.
he's doing that is because
Well, part of it, he has Last Samurai and Secret Oath. But yes, Wayne is not a guy that's going to lose races by being a dirt.
Yep.
He might lose races, but he's not going to lose them because he's rating speed horses.
Yeah.
I
Be aggressive.
It's a man who values speed, and his numbers kind of speak for themselves, don't they?
Most precious commodity on the racetrack.
Bob Baffert, too. I mean, Bob Baffert wired to Travers with Arrogate and West Point. Not exactly 2 horses that are well known for their
West
speed.
Coast, yeah.
West Coast, I mean,
They
right?
lay him on, listen, those old school guys, they laid him on a fence and they put speed into him, and that's how they won
Yeah,
races.
I mean, it's not rocket science. I understand that turf racing and synthetic racing have changed a lot of people's strategy,
Right,
but
they changed the game.
and I understand that speed is better on dirt than turf, but it's not like there aren't horses that can take advantage of being speed horses on turf as well.
Especially with turf sprinting.
And these days, there's also like no speeds anymore in turf racing. So if you are a speed, you can really take it. I mean, think of some of the horses that were able to win big races by just being speed horses,
War.
and they weren't.
War was the first one that
But I
comes
mean,
to
even
mind, right?
recently,
Oh,
even
recently,
sort
yeah.
of, maybe allowance types. Think of the horse that won the Knickerbocker. That wasn't a tone, was it? Was it a tone?
No, it was
But I mean,
the O'Connor horse.
it was Maker.
The
No,
Knickerbocker.
you're thinking of the other. You're thinking of the other one.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the one that won the Red Smith.
The Red Smith.
Going to the lead. That wasn't a bad horse though. That horse was pretty good.
Astronaut.
Yeah, he's okay. It was
I
a
can't
dumb
think of-
mistake.
I can't think of Knickerbocker.
I'm glad to see Maple Leaf Mel back, and I know you picked her too. And I always kind of want to be the wise guy as we move on to race 7 and pick against these horses. But man, this horse is good, and I don't like to get into this thing. If she was just training okay, Joel Rosario wasn't making the trip up the Riley.
Correct.
And it's funny, we were talking about Downtown Mischief, and we were saying the show, she's the early favorite for the Bowery, and then this horse showed up. Now, I'm not saying Downtown Mischief isn't going to win the Bowery, but this horse could be very good.
Back in 16 days, sloppy track. Obviously something went amiss because she's been gone since the end of August. So
This
who
horse's
knows?
debut.
Yeah,
I mean,
this horse's debut was something
Aragona
else.
told me that he said he'd watched some of the workouts in Florida and thought she's working absolutely terrifically. I'm excited to see her back.
Jeremiah's here.
Wow, he hasn't been here. I'm not. Does he know where Aqueduct is? It's been a while. I haven't seen Jeremiah here in a while.
I saw him at Belmont. I haven't even seen him at
Could've-
Aqueduct. He may need directions.
You don't even know.
I guess you could GPS it now.
Is Bill Parcells coming?
The coach. I spoke to the coach this morning. He's not.
Oh,
he will
well,
not
that's
be.
too bad. But Bill
Maya's
Parcells,
here.
of course, is
He'll be
the
here.
owner of this horse.
He'll be
and
here
he is
representing.
But listen, Les Bon Temps will show her last race. I know she lost last time. She's no slug. She's pretty good. I mean, this horse is going to have to come back running.
Yeah.
Because if
No
she's not
question.
really ready and she gets tired at the end, it's 6 furlongs. But I think Les Bon Temps is okay. It was a weird race last time. The Mott horse that ran a mediocre, was at 4th or 5th in the air, ran very well, just getting beaten the other day. Lost to Midtown Lights. Lost the
Dream.
Dream something. But just lost that race to Midtown Lights, the Cox horse. And I thought probably ran the better race of the two. It was pretty close. So
They're probably playing Maple Leaf Mel's game going 6, but yes, Le Bon Temps is no joke.
wait, we got a text from Jeremiah.
Did you?
Yeah, he remembered my number. It's been a while. He sent something. I don't know.
Yeah. You probably can't repeat it. The guy-
No, it's got
guy's
a
been out
load.
of control.
But no, it's a picture. He's
been
showing
out-
his location.
He's been out of control the last few mornings.
He's showing his
He really
location.
needs to relax.
Race number 8. Race number 8 is another race without a great deal of form, and we'll show forever Amy's race, and I get that she's the horse to beat. We both have her third. At least she has this race with a 46 buyer. Speaking of Englehart's, Jeffrey Englehart's having the opposite meet of his meet here last winter. He's 3 for 51. I think he has won maybe one race in quite a while. Not exactly hot, and also, I don't really love this race on a muddy sealed track. I'm not sure she's that much worse, and I want to find a little fuzzy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I put it a third just because Well, just because. I mean, she has the one race that would make her a competitor, and
So
the
you-
rest of these haven't been.
You have two from Finger Lakes. Stormy's in Style, who was 5-2 for Charlie Baker back in August, and Flutie Flakes, who was 7-2. Neither one of these horses did much running. I guess of the two, Flutie Flakes did a little more running in there. Not too much. Nothing to recommend of those fields. But I guess the difference with the 6 is that it's Kendrick Carmouche. The other horse says Samuel. So maybe you're a little more optimistic picking up a top rider.
That was it. Yeah, that was really pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these are the two horses I think you look at. I looked at the Bruce Levine horse as well, but that horse took absolutely no money first time out, and it was a fast pace, and the horse went backwards. I mean, not that Wine God's impossible. As far as Magnolia Wind, I want to give her one more chance for Greg DePrima. She got caught in her second start trying to chase Fellini. Now, I know Fellini, how do you pronounce it?
Fellini.
Fellini, right,
Yeah.
okay.
No G.
Trying to chase that horse, and I know Fellini's not exactly a stakes horse, but that horse was ready to win that day and got caught chasing and did run a lot better than the first time out when took money for Dave Duggan. So I'll give one more chance in here after chasing last time, but you don't have a whole lot to go on here. I think the one horse, you've got the 10-second, I've got the horse 4th. This horse was,
Yeah,
I know it's
right,
fast
that was
pace.
last time.
It's
Yeah,
a
it
fast
was a fast pace.
but this horse was bad.
And it was a sloppy track, yeah. Maybe. We'll see. I give Rudy one more chance.
of course,
At least you were nice enough to ask about the G. Chris Griffin went around talking about how...
No, you corrected me last time, that's why.
Chris Griffin was talking about the cream puffs I brought in on Sunday. Not the St. Joseph's pastry.
The other day that everybody had all these good, terrible food for you, and I wasn't allowed to eat anything other than like a baked potato or something. Yeah, that was nice. They had Popeye's chicken downstairs, the cream puffs, everything. I couldn't.
St. Joseph's pastries.
I couldn't eat anything
cream
on Sunday. It was directly done to torture me. Then I went upstairs, and there were the cream puffs you're talking about. You brought in
The
sitting
St.
on the desk.
Joseph's
Yeah,
pastries.
I got them. They were all laughing at me. I dreamed about them laughing at me. All right, we're done. You are off tomorrow, I believe, but back
Correct.
on Sunday.
Correct.
Tomorrow, 10-race card, of course. We mentioned that. But right now, we need you to head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code BONUS200. We will match the $200 of your initial deposit. Do it for Jose. We have a 20% exacta bonus here at the Big A in today's card. That was a fun card. Enjoyed talking about it. We have that same bonus on tomorrow's Dubai World Cup. You have to opt in separately for these. I've already opted in for the 20% here. I'll opt in for the World Cup. And the World Cup races, by the way, will be shown 8 to 12:55, you said, tomorrow?
Yeah, 8 to 12:55 FS2.
I think the first race is the Godolphin Mile. That's what Eric said yesterday. Does that sound right to you? Doesn't sound right to me, but I thought Eric said that. So
I got the
probably
PP. I started doing it. There'll be a tip sheet up later on today over at Naira Bets for all the Dubai races.
Start at
with some
8. You can
picks.
play them through Naira Bets. $300 buy-in for the Saturday contest. You have till 5 o'clock today. Head over to naira.com/contest. And last but not least, 3 to 6 today. Greg and I are here. Richie is here as well. Maggie out this weekend. She'll also be at Oaklawn next week, so we won't have her at Aqueduct for a couple of weeks. But she's getting a well-deserved vacation this weekend. Jonathan's on, as well as, of course, Paul LaDuca. Our man Paul will be covering the action at Oaklawn, where it's sloppy. We're good. Thank you. We're done. Chris Griffin just getting started. He's coming up with a reprise, Scratches and Changes.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant.